So welcome to everyone from all around the world to this 2020 Heart Site with Karen Johnson, the co-founder of the Diamond Approach. We'll be together for about an hour and a half today, and we'll be having a great meditation and talk with Karen, and then we'll have a time for questions and comments and a discussion with all of us as we navigate this time around the world together. And I'm going to look for Karen here, and I think we're going to go ahead and turn it over to Karen Johnson now.
Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are in the world. Welcome. I'd like to begin today with a short meditation. As with all spiritual endeavors, intention is very important. And our physical posture is a very important statement of our inner posture and our inner intention. So I'd like us all, in gathering together, to have our combined intention to be settled, clear, and allowing our breath to be free. And in allowing our breath to be free, what I mean by that is the more we are settled in our base, I'm going to do a little meditation, but to do that, I'd like you to feel really settled, sitting really on your sits bones. If you're in a position to put your feet on the floor, to do so, and really feel like there's support for your body. The more support we have and the more we're balanced in that support, the more our breath can be free. We're giving wings to the heart, and we're going to let our heart soar today. So what I'd like you to do is you can have your eyes open or closed. Many of you have practices and are aware of what it means to really settle into the belly so that your breath can be freer. I'd like you to put your hands in whatever mudra you prefer. And we're going to sit for just a few minutes together to settle and to open the space for us to discuss important things. So I'm going to start with the bell, and I'll end with the bell. I invite you to feel your breath deep into your back, to the front and the sides of your rib cage, giving space to your chest. Just be aware of your breathing. So, lovely to see all your faces from all over the world. And I feel really happy to be talking to you today. There is a saying in the US about 2020 hindsight. And what that means is that after an event has occurred, we can often look back on it and say, ah, yes, now I see what happened. We can reflect on something that has occurred and see it more clearly, see how the events led to whatever happened, have a clearer idea of what went on, makes more sense somehow. 2020 vision in our country means that we have good eyesight, basically. But I know there's lots of different euphemisms in different languages that have something of the same feeling of looking back and seeing things. If I knew then what I know now, I would have attended to something differently. I would have managed something differently. 2020 heart sight has to do not just with reflection, but also it has to do with the year 2020. This is a pivotal year, life-changing event, this virus. And to be able to go forward with what we've learned, to actually be able to remain with a kind of intention and resolve that many of you are coming to, getting more fired up about your inner life, not just your outer life. It's really changed us in many ways. It's been a call to action in terms of our inner world, not just our outer world. We've had time, some of us, those of us who have time, by staying in our own homes and needing to have social distancing, it's caused us to reflect. It's caused us to take a good look at our lives. It's reevaluating. We are reevaluating our priorities, shifting our values, seeing what's really meaningful in our life. We're seeing tremendous good things coming out of terrible times. We're seeing the best and the worst of things going on, but we're often very touched and moved by what we're seeing of sacrifice, of goodness coming forward, and people call it the best in humanity's coming through us. What does that mean? That it's coming through. What is that humanity that is coming through? What is it? What is its source? And we have the opportunity to find out what that source is. But I started off talking about intention, our intention in practice, to be able to sit with an intention. Is also important that we live with that intention, to actually stay with what we're learning. Now, sometimes I see that what we're going through right now, I hear a lot about it's a wake-up call. Yes, it is a wake-up call, but it's a wake-up call just like drowning in the middle of the ocean is a wake-up call. And we can be drowning in the middle of the ocean, and there seems to be no help in sight. And we start, even if we're atheists, one might start praying to God all of a sudden, dear Lord, if you just get me out of this mess, I will promise to do this and this and this. And you're begging to who knows what, that if I can only get to shore, get to land, be saved from this, I will go forward with all of these things. We feel some kind of fervor, and all of a sudden, we really want to do better. Why does it take a crisis for us to get to that point of wanting to really express something better, to be better, to really show up in a human good way? There are two really strong motivating forces for human beings. One is fear, and the other is love. Right now, we're all pretty much connected through combating this virus. We're unified in a particular way through a kind of suffering. And that's not a negative at all. That's a positive, the way we're united. And it's opening up positive things for people. It's bringing out goodness. It's bringing out even celebration of that goodness. But we could be unified by something much more fundamental to human beings, and that is the human heart. And if we are really going to start talking about opening up the countries, our communities, to going back out into it, we also need to talk about opening up our hearts. That needs to be the beacon that we follow. And not forget that once we get to shore, that everything's going to go back to normal. We already know that physically our lives are changed. At first, there was a lot of talk about, okay, after a few weeks, things will go back to normal. Now the talk is, as things are starting to open up and we're starting to talk about what it's going to mean to go back into the world and be interacting, we recognize there isn't going to be that old normal. It's going to be a new normal. But what does that mean? And what does yours look like? Are we going to settle in to familiar patterns that are just dressed up in a new way.
One moment, Karen. It looks like your sound went muted. Let's see if we can figure that out. 1 second.
You did.
There we go. You're back.
I'm back.
Yeah, keep going.
This is part of life. Things happen that you just don't expect. We can turn it into an adventure, or we can have it disrupt something and make us feel uncomfortable and frightened, and all of a sudden we've lost our equilibrium, and then we try to scatter and get back to it instead of be able to stay with what is really what we are. That can't be disrupted when we're settled in it, when we're actually settled in something authentic. And to be authentic means not just to be satisfied with goodness being expressed in the world, but to take the reevaluating that we're doing and take it to its roots. In other words, to really find the opening that we have found in the middle of that ocean as we're drowning, and as we're opening up and saying, I see that I haven't lived my life in a way that is as meaningful and as good as it can be. How can I do this differently? And what are the ways? There has been a huge surge in spiritual interest, as is the way in all kinds of human crises throughout history. It does cause us to question what is meaningful, what is necessary. The name for human beings, our species, is Homo sapien, right? It means wise man, very ambitious. We're not there yet. We're the only species on Earth that I can think of that does not know how to be the creature that it is. We have to learn how to be the creature that we are. We have not realized it yet. We have not actualized it yet. We're learning. We need to grow into it. We need to find out, what is that authenticity? What does it really mean to have wisdom? And it is not only for men. We can be wise people. For that, we need heart. And we need to actually cultivate the openness that we're seeing. Not be satisfied with the acts of kindness and courage, warmth, friendliness, sacrifice. Not just be satisfied with the way it's being expressed, but we need to find the wellspring that all of that is coming from. That does live in the human heart. What is all of that humanity coming through? It's courage, love, sensitivity, kindness, interest, tremendous creativity coming forward, generosity. These are all characteristics of the human heart. Combined with our intelligence, the heart opens up to a beautiful realm of possibilities for the human being. In crisis, we somehow find that wellspring, and it comes forth. Let's find ways to cultivate it, to keep that flowing, growing. So 2020 Heartsight means it is the year of the possibility of the heart coming alive more fully into the human realm, where humanity might find itself becoming more human. And to do that, we need to enliven, invigorate, nourish the human heart. It's a beautiful instrument. But many of us have let it lie in the attic and get all crusty. Where it's like a brass instrument that gets a beautiful patina, but it's got cobwebs and bugs living in it, all kinds of things. And you try the wind instrument blowing through it after it hasn't been used for a while. The sound isn't so good, and you've forgotten how to play it. The human heart is alive daily, but it's often alive, excuse me, my instrument. I'm channeling the instrument that is needing a little clarification. But usually the human heart is full of reactivity and agitation and reactivity, and we're actually just expressing the bugs and the cobwebs. We haven't learned how to really use the human heart or be authentic in a way that allows us to have the wind of the divine really blow through it and allow it to have that ring, that tone that touches others. When we feel touched by someone, the vibration of their heart is resonating in us. We actually feel touched by their very heart, their tone, their word, deed, coming with goodness is something that is moving us. Whenever we take an action that has heart, that's truly generous, loving, kind, it moves in another naturally. Because we are united in that underlying goodness, that it is part of the potential of humanity. And when we express that goodness, in whatever way it shows up, we're expressing the divine heart of humanity. We're hooked up to that wellspring, and it is coming through. We all have experiences of that in our life, but we don't always know how to access it. And so much generosity is coming through these days of teachers of spirituality of all kinds and traditions, giving tools and perspective of how to access heart, mind, body in ways that are going to optimize humanity. We have the tools. How do we use them? How do we actually invite access? And in our work, it really means taking a very good look at what it is that is keeping the heart closed. What is it that doesn't allow us to open, to express this goodness? We're very limited often in what we know about the universe of the heart. Humanity has developed mind in amazing ways, and all we need to do is look around and see how the intelligence and the creative intelligence of mind has been displayed everywhere. The heart is far more of a secret universe, where our intelligence of heart has not been recognized or actualized in a way that makes us able to cross divisions yet. In fact, the crisis unifies us in terms of a common enemy, but those divisions that have always been there are still there, and in some ways getting stronger and more illuminated. There are even divisions now in terms of information wars about who has the correct information, who should I listen to, where did this virus come from? All kinds of things are being thrown around. Some of us are taking positions more staunchly. Out of fear, divisions will be more extreme. Even though the virus is connecting all of us, all over the world, we're all united in that way. We are not yet connected by love. Fully. We do not know what that means. We are in our infancy as Homo sapiens. We are not mature in our hearts enough to act with wisdom, clarity, generosity. We are not developed in such a way that we can remain open in adversity, that we don't understand that what we are, what this instrument is a conduit to something indestructible, beautiful. That generosity is unlimited. Our bodies are limited. We only have so much energy. But amazingly enough, in a crisis, you see people spending many, many hours over their usual limits, and somehow they're coming to it and even feeling happy about it and good and fulfilled and fulfilling others as a result. But we need to actually be able to touch this, feel this, and know it by touching it. Meaning, when you feel that authenticity, when you really know what you are and you know what love is, and you feel the presence of that generous space, you recognize there isn't a need to shut down. Our emotionality is such a tiny part of heart. In fact, it's what we need to move through to reconnect to the wellspring that is an undivided heart that does not cause division, but in fact heals them. Love heals division. It crosses bridges. It melts boundaries. And it enables the human being to act in such a way that it refracts the light of that divine heart into so many qualities, so many possibilities. Courage is a very specific presence of heart that allows us to feel the heat of strength and our lion-heartedness, that allows us to be courageous in spite of fearful emotion and reaction. It eclipses that, where instead of joining into suffering, we can find ways to attend to it. Another quality of heart is the kindness we see and feel when we see suffering. It has a gentleness. And when you feel the roots of it, it is an indestructible gentleness, an exquisite tenderness, an illuminated compassion. It allows us to act in a compassionate way. Despite the suffering, it brings heart into the midst. Not to make the suffering go away and soothing, but would bring out the truth within the suffering, in our inner world and our outer world. Outwardly, we have compassionate act. We need that to go inward also, to be able to tolerate pain so that it can bring out more truth, more heart, more reality, more ways that we can express that in the world. That is meaningful, fulfilling. In fact, fulfillment is one of the beautiful heart qualities that we can know as a human being, the richness of heart and the feeling of fulfillment, not just because I did this or did that. That comes out of fulfillment. When we feel richness within us, it spills over into our actions, into our lives, and it feels meaningful because it is meaning itself. When we're in touch, when we know being, know the presence of heart, we feel meaningful humanness. We feel the meaning of human life. We're not just upright beings accidentally. It allows the heart to shine into the world. It's not just facing the ground and dealing with our animal impulses. It opens up to sacred impulses that are not reactive. So how do we access the sacred within us? How do we develop to be human beings? Being is the presence of what we are. To truly be a Homo sapien, we need to grow into our human beingness, to be the creature that allows the light to be the beacon. We need heart sight. We need illuminated beingness to be shining through. To shine the way. And the mind can ride on that wave of love. They make very good companions. But without heart leading, we will go forward as the world opens up, as this country opens up, as your communities open up to re-engaging in life. Think about the values you've been holding dear, looking into, reevaluating, checking into those priorities. When we do that, we're inviting a heart space. How can we go forward cultivating that spacious heart into its unlimited wellspring and not shutting down out of fear, and also not going back to sleep, not getting to shore and forgetting all that pleading? Where did that go? Keep it alive. Not the pleading, but the resolve. Sustain it. Because there's another very important thing about the human heart. And it's not just to be more sensitive, responsive, to be in touch. It is also what makes the heart happy. When we're in touch, we're happy. We all want to be happy. Why? It's innate to being true, to being real. When we are that reality, when we feel that generosity, it feels good because it is goodness. And when we feel that goodness in our lives and we're expressing it in ways that make other people happy too, we're happy. And we can enjoy each other and have fun and feel delight and lightness. So again, how do we access these things? We need to move through, as I was saying before, starting to say, we need to understand what keeps us from being able to be open and in touch. We need to use the tools that enable us to go inward and open up to new possibilities, things we hadn't expected, and allows this not knowing and uncertainty to become an adventurous, lion-hearted, sensitive, kind exploration into our inner world that opens up to a huge universe of invisible surprises so that we can act sincerely, truthfully, and heartfully and shine that light into the world. And when we do, we light up other people too. When you're approached by someone who's welcoming and loving, doesn't it melt you a little bit? We may not wake up humanity entirely. There's a lot of growing to do. We're still infants. We've got a lot of work to do. But we can, in small ways, touch each other, and that will resonate. The divine heart of humanity is something that we all have within us. It is the nature of our soul to know love, goodness, kindness, courage. This is the year of heart for Ridwan. We decided that in early part of January when Hamid had an insight one day and decided he'd take a New Year's resolution, which is unheard of. And the resolution was to up the joy quotient for humanity. And that's something we can all participate in. When we don't go with a reaction, when we do something that helps us to understand more what's more true and real about us than our reactive, territorial, adversarial positions, we're upping the joy quotient. And we have the Divine Heart of Humanity is actually the name of a series of courses that we're giving. And you'll be given a link to those. But somehow the teaching was already moving in a way that somehow it knew that this was going to be the year that love was needed more than ever. So that heart sight for the year 2020 is what I invite you to engage in. No matter how you do it, in whatever way, that there is some small way you can contribute to humanity becoming more human. So, one thing I always say is it's one thing to say it, it's another to display it. We have many courses that teach about inquiry. Some of you have been involved in them, some of you already are in groups, some of you have never heard of it. But I would like our opportunity for the next 45 minutes to be for questions and comments, but also I'll do little pieces of work to orient you in how to use some of the tools you already have of your mind, your heart, your desire to know, These are all tools, your mind, heart, and body. How we utilize them can help us to go into our experience in a way that opens it up. So I will try to give you a little taste of what that might be like, how you can approach your experience. We call our inquiry, we call our work the diamond approach, and the approach is inquiry. It's a very precise way of moving into experience to open it up to new possibilities. In fact, the heart is what gives orientation in our work. It shows the way. It illuminates the path inward. And hopefully this year, we can also support you to learn what that is, what these qualities are, how you can actually be in touch with them and express that more in the world, more widely. So I'd like to hear from you and find out, how can we work together to open up humanity? So I'm eager to hear what you have to say, where you are.
Thanks, Karen. All right, so as Karen mentioned, we have about 45 minutes of time for all of us to explore together with Karen. And we'll be looking for people with raised virtual hands. The way that you do that is if you're on a desktop or laptop, if you scroll at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a button that says participants. And then if you look on your right-hand side at the bottom, there's a blue raised hand button. If you click that, it will put you in the queue for raised hand. If you're on the phone, it's *9, or on another app, there's a button that says more, and there's an option to raise hand. You can also send a message to support Stacia. I'm going to put that in the chat now if you're having problems and need to find any of that information. We have about 45 minutes and about 2,000 people or more registered for this. So let's be mindful and aware of how we use the time with each other and give space for as many people as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and look for those in the chat here. And we'll start with Sarah. And also, please, if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly, please let us know what your name is, the right way to say it. And you're welcome to also say where in the world that you're calling in from. So we'll go to Sarah Schenbach. I'll unmute you now.
Hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
I can.
There you are. Well, I've been in the work for a long time, and recently some things during this time, memories of trauma from very early childhood have come up. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I knew that this was up, but I've never known quite what happened. And that has come up for me. Mm-hmm. And I probably spent the last 5 days crying. Mm-hmm. And yet at the same time, I feel very open. Mm-hmm. It feels like my heart is really open. But there's this
emotion. Yeah, let yourself feel the openness. Really touch the sense of openness and let the tears happen too.
Yes, I see what I'm doing. I tried to stop it.
Yeah. If you let the tears happen and just feel the texture of this kind of openness. When you say your heart is open, what does that feel like?
It feels actually like a physical expansion.
Yeah. So it
that's
feels
almost uncomfortable.
What makes it uncomfortable?
I think maybe because I'm not used to it partly, but it also seems to trigger the tears.
Okay, let the tears happen.
But how long can I cry?
Let's just cry together for a moment. For a moment. There's tears when the heart is learning about itself. Just sense into the openness. And feel the bigness, too. It feels physical because you're in touch with it. But it's your consciousness that's feeling it. The tears are good things.
It's a pretty overwhelming feeling.
Let yourself be overwhelmed. I'm right here. What does the space in the heart feel like?
Oh, it feels almost like when wind touches some sensitive skin.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's very sensitive.
Extremely sensitive.
Yeah, yeah. What do you feel around you at the moment?
In what sense?
Like if you feel something around your body at the moment. Can you feel the space around you, or is it just...
Oh, yes, I can feel space around me. I notice I'm holding my arms up.
Uh-huh. What kind of space do you feel around you?
Well, I don't know, but it's almost as if space has a texture.
Yeah, yeah. What kind?
And
What kind of texture?
well, right now it feels kind of like a pillow.
Yeah. Let yourself rest in the pillow. A comforting pillow coming. Take a breath. Yeah.
I think I keep wanting the crying to be over, and that's probably keeping it going.
Well, your crying is part of the heart's language. It's trying to tell you something. Also, crying can help melt you. But feel this pillow. It's a comforting presence. And you'll cry till you're done.
Wow.
Wow, what?
It's just there's so much.
There is a lot, but this pillow that you're feeling is a way that presence can arise as a comforting holding for the one who is experiencing distress and disconnection.
Yeah.
And the tears are part of the pain of that disconnection. So let the pillow be there for you.
I find I want to express my love to someone who's really helped me emotionally, and it's like when I try to write the words, I don't know how to write the words.
Let your heart write them. It's fine. I have that feeling myself sometimes. And then I just let myself feel the tears and let my heart say what it wants to. And then all of a sudden, my mind goes,
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
But you're also bringing in something very important. A couple things. One is that this time is traumatizing for people. It does bring out trauma because it's a disruption in our holding environment. The familiarity that we've established in our lives has been kind of a holding, but it's also been a bit of a sleepy holding. The kind of holding that you're feeling as a pillow where space has texture, you are feeling like you're an individual, but there's some kind of a larger presence holding you.
Yeah.
And that is what is needed for the individual to be able to melt and get more connected back to that larger sense of ourselves.
That's helpful.
Yeah. Good. And this is another opportunity. We've all been traumatized just by the fact that we have ego. We're disconnected. But some of us are traumatized in ways that had very difficult things that have happened on top of the fact that we're disconnected from being. So this presence can come not just as an inner feeling, but as a goodness that's around us, that we can experience it that way when we need to feel held. So, honey, just cry till you're done. It's fine. But if you cry and you're in touch and stay present with it, it will invite presence to be the answer to it.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah.
Okay.
All right, we're going to go to Mamta Kature.
Yeah,
Hi.
I'll unmute myself. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay, wonderful. Actually, I'm a healthcare professional, but having more time off, I have been able to actually do more of my practice. In a way, I have been very thankful. And also, so many spiritual traditions have had additional input or via media and other things. I just had one question. I don't know, this is the first time I'm at Diamond approach, but I study Vedanta, Hinduism, so concept of Brahman, listening to Eckhart Tolle, concept of presence, Buddhism, concept of compassionate mind. It looks like you are really creating an amalgamation of everything. Am I understanding it right?
You're freezing a little bit. I've lost you. Okay, you're back.
Oh.
Can you state the question?
So I'm just talking. Okay. So all the traditions, different traditions, like Eckhart Tolle talks about presence. I practice Buddhism also, talks about compassionate mind.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, Diamond approach is really an amalgamation of everything. Am I understanding it right?
It may appear to have different features of many different traditions. It is a path on its own. And the way we talk about presence is very specific. And it has a unique articulation in that we see presence as an actual substance of being, that we see that there's the substance and the spaciousness of being. And the presence can arise as many qualities, not just one quality. But our path is very much a unique path on its own, but there are certain features that will be echoed and that seems to, be consistent with other paths. The one thing I feel that really unifies all paths of spirituality is that when someone is in touch with their being, with Brahman, with reality, with authenticity, there is a goodness expressed, that there's heart, not defensiveness. And so it brings out in Christianity the virtues of the human being. For others, for the Sufis, it's the love, and the beloved is expressed to really express the divine. So this is where there's a lot of overlap, and that's where things are consistent. But it is a path on its own. Thank you. And thank you for all you are doing as a healthcare professional. Very much appreciated.
Thank you, Mamta. Okay, we're gonna go to Jason Stahl. And again, feel free to say where in the world you're joining us from if you'd like.
I'm here in Sierra Vista, Arizona. It's not far from Bisbee and the border of Mexico.
I cannot hear you.
Jason, can you put the camera up towards your face a little more so we can see and hear you?
Is that any better?
No, not very.
No.
I can't see you and I can't hear you.
You can't see or hear?
Better. It's a little better.
Oh, I'm a bit frozen and muted and difficult inside. So I'm not surprised if the text is glitchy.
I'm not understanding you. I'm really sorry. Can you come closer to your microphone? There you go. Let's see how that does. Hi.
I'm very shaky at the moment, like terrified to speak up. Like I said, I'm near Mexican border, about an hour and a half away from Tucson. Where the
So you're near the Mexican border. On which side?
I'm in Arizona.
Arizona.
Near a town called Bisbee and Fort Huachuca military base and stuff.
Uh-huh. What's frightening you?
You mentioned the information warfare dynamic that's been part of what's going on. And I've been for several years now in a type of a quarantine situation where efforts to speak up as social media became more available I found myself in a war. I had studied the healing arts, had done different things that tried to participate in the world, and bumped up against institutional boundaries that I'm still trying to reckon what I got myself in touch with. And I said very naively and brutally, just say, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to tell people what I know and share ideas. And got in so much trouble in institutional academic situations and professionally. And then when social media opened up, it was just like, I can write, and a day at a time, I can put something out there. And I've been eaten so absolutely terribly, nightmare scenarios that I try to say what's going on, and I get accused of insanity, conspiracy theories. And I've been at the forefront of that war, and every day I find a way to smile and love something.
Yeah.
But I have the type of, like I have been censored, and now I'm just like the most paranoid person that assumes I'm always censored.
So what's happening right now? If you don't think about the ideas and the information battle, and what are you feeling at this moment?
Shaky and kind of like I've had this on my mind for years, and I'm just really grateful to have a moment to speak up to people that I believe care.
Yeah, so feel what's happening in your chest at this moment. You feel open? You feel closed? You feel still shaky?
Open, but also like I just went to a different world. Like it's just the space world. The shaking is still happening, but there's a continuity from my legs and pelvis to my head.
Good. So you're feeling a little more connected. Good. That's what's needed. I just recommend sensing your belly, feeling yourself down, and not just concerned about all the information and whether it fits with someone else's reality or not.
So it's hurt, and the thing I'm most worried about is the sadism it's brought out of me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, at first, it's like, I want to help.
Yeah.
I do.
Okay.
I'm getting attacked so much. It's like, I'm so happy to see you suffer, and the stuff coming down the pipe is going to, it's going to destroy my parents, first of all. And the significance of that in me. And so this like sadism is coming out, and it's like, I don't know what to do with that. I don't know how to balance that. I don't know how to, the communities are so polarized and violent.
Yes. This is a very, very good question. So I want to just speak to it a little bit, which is that different people have such different ideas right now about things, and you're bringing in some that seem to diverge from the mainstream. How to remain open. Take in what people are saying, wondering, well, what are they seeing? How am I conveying this information? And then enable them to, really listen to what they're saying. And then there may be a way that you can hear how you're conveying something. Like, why are they having that attitude toward me? And new ideas always take a while to sort out and find out and validate and so on. And that takes time. But also, as new information comes, it takes a while to verify and to find the significance of it. There needs to be ongoing communication and openness on both sides. So really, it's a communication issue of how can I have something that feels so certain to me, some things that have been validated, and communicate this as not a position that's solid and I'm convinced of it and you guys are wrong. That's the same position you don't like about the other side. You need to find ways to communicate what you're thinking about that stimulates another person's thought process. And that comes with caring. I feel that you want to help. The way to do that is in small steps with some information and then dialogue in some ways. So it's skillful ways. And the more the heart is there, the more we can have a skillful approach to bringing new ideas. That happens on every level, practically, spiritually, all kinds of ways. I mean, the diamond approach as a path is still establishing itself in the world in certain ways. People are still saying, oh, that's not a real path. That's a self-help thing. For us, we're going, no, we know the truth of this. We want to display it. We want to bring it out. And there's all kinds of ideas. The woman just before said, it's an amalgam of so many things. I know that's not true, but that's the way it looks. So the way to say it is not. It is not. That's not the truth. I could do that because that's how I feel. No, it's not. But to say, yes, it actually does have that appearance, doesn't it? And actually, no. But you see what I'm saying? There's a skillful way humanity needs to learn how to listen. And without heart, there is no real listening. There is no true meeting, no true communication. Because if we're polarized, there's something right and something wrong, usually, about both sides. Sometimes it's very, very hard to find, but there's something. So that's what I will leave you with, is a recommendation of investigating skillful means of communication and taking time and having patience. If you know there's a nugget of truth, be patient. The truth wins out. Always.
Thank you. Thanks, Jason. We are going to go to Petra. Petra Mangolds. Hi, Petra, I unmuted you.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me, Karen?
Yes, I can.
Oh, hi. Hi. My heart made me push the raise hand button.
What does your heart have to say?
There is excitement in the heart, and also some kind of pressure. And I'm not sure what it is about, so I would like to find out.
Let the pressure happen. Just feel what is coming against an edge. Tell me about the pressure.
That's interesting. The first thing that comes up is speaking my truth.
Uh-huh. What is the truth that wants to speak?
That I see things, experience things differently, or that I don't feel comfortable right now with how you present this.
Okay.
It's always in contact with someone else, and
so this is not just now, but at other times.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a pattern. Good. Tell me what's uncomfortable. What do you feel uncomfortable with? And what is your experience that's different?
Mm-hmm. I feel very uncomfortable with when I experience the other one with very strict, this is the truth.
Uh-huh.
This is how it is. And I'm also uncomfortable with my own reactiveness.
Uh-huh. Let's hear the reactiveness. So you were hearing me say, this is the way it is, and it sounds like it sounded rigid to you.
Mm-hmm. Rigid, yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay, so how does that make you feel toward me right now?
This.
Yeah. Good. Let yourself feel that. You feel. It looked like angry.
It's yeah. Oh, and it's I can feel it now that it wants to come out, and at the same time there is this holding it back.
Uh-huh.
I'm this is happening then.
I invite you to come out with that. I like your energy. Let it come.
Okay. Here.
Yeah.
Ah.
Uh-huh.
There's fire here. There's fire here.
Good. Feel the fire. How is it to feel that fire? What do you experience when you feel the fire in you?
I feel very alive, and it feels dangerous.
It feels dangerous to be alive?
That alive, that much alive, that fire.
Yeah. I'm good with it. But it sounds like it's making you, so you're uncomfortable with your own aliveness at this moment.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. What's uncomfortable about being so alive?
It's I'm leaving the box, so to say, where I have kept myself. So
you have a rigid box too. So you're feeling a rigid box, and it's not there now. That's interesting.
It's very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So feel the feeling of aliveness, that energy, that you have a smile on your face.
Yeah, I do. I'm really enjoying this because something came out that was there for such a long time, and I just couldn't really. So it's wonderful. It's feel expansive. It feels really expansive.
Yes.
I can feel it in my arms, in the skin on my arms. I can really.
Yeah.
Woo. It's like goosebumps all the way down.
Yeah. You're alive.
Yeah.
And beautiful.
Yeah.
You're shining. You're shining with yourself. Thank you. That was a beautiful example of honesty, truthfulness, and also hanging in there. You did not attack me, but you let your feelings be known. That is a very beautiful example. That's better than anything I could have said. Thank you. That's a wonderful contribution. Keep shining, honey. Wonderful.
Thanks, Petra. Okay, we're going to go to Lisan.
Hello, Karen. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi.
Hi. Yeah, I feel reactive. I also felt some anger, and I noticed it's really challenging for me to meet you from this space.
Yes. So tell me what you were angry about.
It's so I can feel near the Mobius, there's this, it was more before, there was this like intense pressure. And now I can really feel my arms and legs. And it's, and there's really strong rejection. Like I could feel how it was not landing what you were saying.
What didn't land particularly?
There's just this deep identity or belief. Like I can feel there's also hatred, that being like, well, it's just not the world I live in. You know, you speak, the heart is the center of the practice. And I love the practice so dearly. But for me, it is like, I feel so lost when you say that. Like there is no reference point.
That's my point. It's not the world that we live in. It's the world we need to cultivate. But let yourself feel that lack of reference point and the pressure. And the hatred. These are all things in the way of that instrument. Just let yourself feel it.
Yeah. It's interesting. There's actually now, it feels as if the pressure is gone and there's this spaciousness, but then there's a separation at the head near the throat. And also the arms feel specifically present. And I can feel the belly and the breathing really resting there, the calf, and also the breast is quite open, actually, or just spacious. Yeah.
And what does the spaciousness feel like?
Ooh. Yeah. Like the pressure in the head is really tightening.
So now the pressure went to the head.
Yeah.
So I want you to breathe into your chest, open your eyes, and let the pressure come out at me. Some of that aggression you were feeling, let that just come out. Express it with your eyes.
Yeah. So then the sadness comes in, like together, like right with, I could feel like the roar in my throat and also the aggression in my eyes. And now I can also feel the sadness. Yeah, that comes with it.
What are you sad about?
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. I think it has to do with, or I think, well, that's already a bad start of the sentence. But it has to do with this conflict between like loving and at the same time like the hatred or the anger being there, and things not being right for me, right? So loving my mother or hating her, it's difficult.
Yeah.
You have both.
Don't choose. Let them both be there. There's hatred, there's love, and there's pain. Pain about that separation. What do you hate about your mother?
It's there's really no images coming, but there is just this. I feel this immense effort with saying no, or this keeping out, this like boundary setting. Yeah, so the idea is, I think, opening the heart means there is no boundary, right?
Got it. Yeah, that is a belief. That if you open the heart, there won't be, you just have to give over, be passive to everything and everyone.
Right. Right.
It's not true. When we're in touch with our heart, we can also have the strength to be able to say no without closing down. If we don't have our heart open, the only option we have is to say no with resistance. We can have strength, but you bring in a really important point, which is opening means we're open to everybody, and we're going to be at the influence of everybody and everything, and we won't be able to really establish good behavioral boundaries. Behavioral boundaries are very different from consciousness boundaries. We can feel we are the universe and have no boundaries. But when it comes to behaving in the world, we can say, that doesn't feel right to me. That's not okay with me. So those are slightly different. Right. But I also hear that there is a pain about some residual. Maybe you set boundaries through your aggression? Is that how you do it?
I actually, I'm more of the passive-aggressive type. Mm-hmm. And it's because of this whole, and I have a difficulty, I think, setting boundaries. Mm-hmm. And I like what I feel when you talk about feeling everything. And I think I'm quite sensitive or picking up on a lot, the idea of really feeling the like Weltschmerz, to really feel the suffering of the world.
It's intense. I think what I was meaning, I don't remember what I said, frankly. Feeling everything is that the heart is able to reach in and feel the richness of that universe. To be able to feel the goodnesses, the kindness, the sensitivity, the the beauty that's in there, that's in you. And then how can we skillfully express that in the world? But it's also true that as we open our heart, we do feel more of the suffering, and we also feel more of the joy. But I get that that's an edge. It doesn't mean, okay, now open, and that's just the way you're supposed to be. No, you're bringing in things that are important issues to move through and cultivate. When I talk about cultivating the heart's openness, it means moving through these things. It doesn't mean blast yourself wide open. It means honor where you're at.
Right. So I think often the experience is either there's a radical openness, but there is trouble with the boundary setting, or there is a ego rigidity and the heart is predominantly closed.
Got it.
Right. And there seems no middle ground between the two.
Got it. The middle ground is where you're headed right now, which is that you're more open. And there's different possibilities, but you're not completely wide open. At least that's my experience of you. There's adjustment. Does it feel that way to you? Where are you on that continuum?
Yeah, I feel I'm trembling a bit. Also in the legs.
A little vulnerable?
Yeah, and maybe also some space coming in. And I can also feel the connection now.
Yeah. So there's a feeling of connection. That's interesting. What does that feel like when you sense connection?
It brings in like a pleasure, like an inherent enjoyment of the experience.
I'm sensing some kind of sweetness in the heart. That's what it brings out in me, that I feel connected to you through that sweetness. Yet I feel you are being yourself. Yeah, I don't feel like you have to just come over here, but I feel we're connected through that. That's my experience.
That really touches me when you say that. Yeah. And it makes me more aware of the intimacy with myself and therefore also with you.
Isn't that nice? You can be intimate with yourself and be in touch with someone else, connected. That's beautiful. I want that for you. You have a beautiful heart. You have a lot to offer.
Thank you.
And we're learning. We're just learning. Little step at a time. This is a nice step. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
Thanks, Lisanne. All right, we have about 6 more minutes. Karen, would you like to take one more person, or would you like to move to closing ideas for us?
I think I'll go to some closing ideas. We've had some really beautiful examples of how to move into heart, and it's touching to me that can happen in such a beautiful way with people I've never met. With a couple of you I actually have. But the way to a better world, to better humanity, really is by going inward into the inner universe. But the heart is the central feature of what humanity needs. It's true, it's not the world we live in right now. However, as we can see in our being sequestered and alone, there's connection still. That there is a way to connect that is through our consciousness, through presence, through really being. And that authenticity shines forward. And if you are interested in knowing more about our method, our path, and also the way that the heart expresses itself, we do have various courses this year that are coming out. It's the year of the heart for us. And there are opportunities to find out more about the various ways heart expresses itself in the world, the way a heart expresses itself on the journey. We need the courage, adventuresome attitude. We need to be able to be steadfast in our resolve, not just go to sleep when things feel good. So I'd like you to be thinking about yourself on a raft in the middle of the ocean, the things that you have come to in this time of quarantine, things that have been reevaluated, the things that you value, things that you realize you've taken for granted, part of your life, part of your humanness. And I think it would be useful to reflect at the end of each day, in what way, big or small, have you contributed to the heart of humanity? Through an action or a non-action, meaning not acting out on a negative feeling, not attacking someone when you actually felt like it, to be able to use the feelings that you have to go in, not act them out. That is a contribution. So use your 2020 hindsight by reflecting on the day. What could I have done differently that I might take to tomorrow? What did I do that contributed? And how can I cultivate that more? Take little steps, be patient, be good to yourself, and above all, be kind to yourself. So I leave you with the pleasure of being with you and hoping that you've taken a nugget with you that will grow and develop and offer up the best of you to the world. Thank you.
For those who are still here, just to give you a closing wrap up, thank you so much to Karen for your guidance today and to everyone for sharing this space together. Please join us on May 17th, if you'd like, for Essence of Love with Hamid Ali, the other co-founder of the Diamond Approach. And there's different pay what you can options available for that. I've put the link in the chat. You can also stay in touch with us by connecting on Facebook or Instagram and YouTube. And with that, thank you so much to Karen. And I look forward, hopefully I'll get to see some of you on the 17th. Have a good rest of the day, evening, wherever you are around the world.